Hey, what's up? My name is Myles Solan, and I'm representing Haiti and Jamaica, and you're watching New York Caribbean.
I'm your host, Michelle Brown. New York Caribbean gives you the very best of island culture in the Big Apple.
All right, Myles, so congratulations on Cornell, first of all.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we know you do two sports, track and soccer. Tell us what you like about track specifically.
What I like about track is that it forces you to work against yourself. It's not a team sport in many aspects. If you're running an individual event, you have to put the work in practice. You have to be the one to push your body so you can make it to the next level. And it's about that individual work aspect that I really enjoy about track, and being able to work on your game by yourself.
There seem to be a lot of athletes from the Caribbean who run track. Why do you think that is?
I think that we just have what it takes physically in our genetics to make us quicker than other groups of people. And so we're blessed in that way.
Do you have a particular track athlete that you like?
Of course, I like Usain Bolt, is the superstar right now. He's been representing my country for so long, 3 Olympics he's had. He's won gold, and so very proud of him and representing Jamaica there. I like because I dip into the middle distance and distance. I also like some of these. South Africa has a really good 400 runner that won the Olympics this year, so I really like him too.
Obviously, you want to get into medicine, you want to be a doctor. Do you think, and you love biology from what I understand, do you think your knowledge of biology helps you in some way with running track because you're so knowledgeable about how your body works?
Of course, I think the two are very interconnected, especially going through the muscular system, and that unit in biology really helps with being able to understand micro tears in your body when you're running track. That's very common. And a lot of the injuries, because track is so consistent, we have practice sometimes 6 times a week. So a lot of the micro tears and tearing more muscle, you have to be able to understand that you need to have rest and you need to hydrate your body and get protein to be able to build the muscle back so that the micro tears don't build up and turn into an actual injury that can hinder you from running. In addition to that, a lot of nutrition really plays a large part in it. So having gone through the nutrition unit, you have to be hydrated on the days of your meet. You have to eat carbohydrates is usually good 1 or 2 days before to have the energy stored for the next couple of days. On the day, you want to have protein, lean meats, and things like that. So understanding that aspect as well is very important.
So you think it gives you a competitive advantage?
I do. Just being able to understand my body and understanding what I want to do to prepare for my race helps me and myself know what I'm going to do and helps me prepare for the race.
And what is your favorite distance? You said middle distance?
My favorite distance to run indoors is the 600, and outdoors would be the 400.
Let's switch a little to soccer. You like playing soccer as well. What do you get out of soccer?
Soccer, what I really enjoy about soccer is the team aspect and being interconnected with your teammates. You really form a true bond and you become brothers on the field. And what I can say about that is that during the season, especially the high school season where you're seeing each other every day, it's like those people become your best friends and your best buddies. So being able to connect with those people, and you form almost like a mental bond on the field too. You almost know what your teammate's going to do, and when you anticipate that, it feels very good to be so connected and have such a great chemistry with your teammates. So that's good.
And one of your goals made it up to Sports Center last year. What was that like?
That was amazing, being able to get one of the goals on Sports Center. During the game, it was very exciting because it was the last game of the season because we ended up losing, but it was the biggest game of the season because it was the playoffs. And so scoring that goal in itself was great, and the way that I got on Sports Center is because one of my good friends got a video of it, got it on Twitter, and got a lot of people to retweet it and kind of at Sports Center, top 10, and they received it and they put it on. So that was a great moment for me. It was very cool.
Of course, we all know you're not just a talented athlete, but you're very smart academically, and you're going to Cornell. Again, congratulations. Tell us how your parents, they seem to stress education very much. How has that influenced you?
Yeah. So definitely one of the greatest influences on my education, not only my parents stressing that, but really it's my older sister, because she's the one that's actually gone through the process, the same school as me, the same path as me. So seeing her, I took similar classes to her. I asked her what I should do for the next year, how I should get through this class, how I should study, and she was really a great role model for me. And kind of laying the path that I would take. And so that helped me really to get through my education and achieve academically. And my parents really stress the need for academics from a very early age.
Do you think it's just a Caribbean thing, or Caribbean parents are just...
I think a lot of different cultures do it, but I'm glad that the Caribbean culture stresses it as well.
Coming up, the very best in Caribbean entertainment and so much more, right here on New York Caribbean.
This is Kellyanne Ross Daniel. I am from Grenada, representing HARD, and this is New York Caribbean.
Your dad is also a big fan of Nelson Mandela, and he loves his quote about education, is the answer to taking you wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
So.
I believe that too, and I think hard work and knowledge is really the key to a lot of different things. So I agree on that.
Yes, definitely. And also if you have to kind of be the change you want to see. So if we see what's going on with the Black community and we want to make it better, the change starts, with us and investing in our children's education from an early age. I think it's important to stress education because it's so hard to get ahead in the corporate world, and so I feel like as people of color we need to work extra hard so that we are top of the class and showing very well when we go into interviews and doing well when we're on the job. So it starts at an early age. You have to focus in the classroom, focus on getting tasks, completing those tasks on time, arriving early, doing all the little things that will make you succeed in the long run.
It's ingrained. I hope it's ingrained in them, and as they go out to college and begin that college career, I always tell them, like for Myles, for instance, he's interested in becoming a medical doctor. So I always say to him, you can while you're pursuing that, think about other opportunities that maybe while you're a doctor, when you're a doctor, you can find opportunities that you can create a business around. And I think the entrepreneur spirit runs very deep between Joe and I, in that we've instilled that in our children.
Tell us a little bit again about what kind of medicine you want to study.
Going through just biology courses, and I've done a lot of rotations in hospitals. I found interest in the field of internal medicine, so what that really entails, specifically the field of cardiology and endocrinology. So what the main thing that endocrinologists deal with are diabetes and thyroid disease, and diabetes has become such an epidemic in this country and even in Black and Caribbean population as well. And so that's something that I really feel I could apply myself and help people in a great way. And additionally, cardiology, heart disease has become the #1 cause of death in the United States, and so that's some field that I can really apply myself and help people as well.
How were you able to manage it all with the soccer and the football and taking all these AP classes? How did you juggle it?
Really the structure, like I said before, my sister had an even busier schedule than me, and so just seeing her balance that, it was like come home, what I do after sports, I usually don't even get anything to eat until I'm done with my homework. It's very structured. In my head, I kind of plan out my day from the beginning, what I want to do. If I have something set, like a meeting later in the day or sports, I had that set, and in between I had the things that kind of vary, like homework, stuff like that. So really setting a schedule mentally in my head really helps me to fit everything in, and not just for that day, the whole week, the whole month, just having everything down. When I'm in school and I need to remind myself about something, I have a notebook, I write down everything that I need to know, and I get home, I look at it. So I make sure that everything's done, because I really don't like forgetting things and leaving it to the last minute.
So what do you do for fun?
When I'm done with all that, I like sleeping a lot. I play basketball with my friends all the time. I love playing basketball. Swimming is a lot of fun just to cool off after the sports. And yeah, hanging out, playing basketball is really one of the greatest things. Being with my family as well. I love seeing my family, love seeing my cousins. Those are some of my best friends, so being with them in any way.
Okay, and you say you have family still in Jamaica, so you guys are going there?
Yeah, we don't see them very often, but when we get to see them, it's a great time, so I'm really looking forward to it in August when we go to see them.
What do you like about Jamaica?
First of all, I like the people there. I like learning more about learning and being able to understand when they're talking to me, because I don't get that often. So when I can understand them, it feels very good. I like how they sell different fruits on the street. I like seeing all the different animals, the wilderness, the food especially. I love the food, I love the cooking, and when I get to indulge in that, it's some of the best times of my life, so I love that.
What advice would you give to, maybe a little Caribbean girl or boy looking at you? Here you are, this high school star athlete, you got into an Ivy League school, and they want to aspire to be like you. What advice would you give them?
One of the main things I like to tell them is that it's a lot about motivation and self-motivation. Sometimes, even though I had my parents behind me, I had my family behind me to push me, a lot of it was self-motivation and me wanting to get my work done on time and even before it's due. So really, what I like to say is that you have to trust yourself, trust the process, and know that all the work you're putting in now and you're motivating yourself to complete is going to pay off in the end. So trust what you're doing and have faith that your work is going to pay off in the end.
All right, Myles, thank you so much for talking with us. Very impressed with your work on and off the track. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here at New York Caribbean.
Thank you.
Coming up, the very best in Caribbean entertainment and so much more, right here on New York Caribbean. This is New York Caribbean.
So Dance Caribbean Collective is an initiative that I started at the beginning of 2015, and I reached out to all the Caribbean dance people, artists, choreographers, educators that I knew that were working in New York for us to come together and think about ways that we could work together more effectively. And we produced our first season in June of 2015 for Caribbean American Heritage Month. The inspiration behind coming together in this way was my need or my desire to bring artists from different backgrounds and different disciplines and different dance styles together, because I felt that I knew a lot of people working in different avenues. Some people were doing more contemporary dance, some people were doing more social, commercial dance, some people were doing more traditional dance and teaching and performing in that way, but I felt that there wasn't enough crossover. People weren't connecting in a really meaningful way, and the collective was a way for people to interact and exchange ideas, exchange energy, inspire each other. And so the collective, the main focus was really for us to come together, produce different events that really could tap into what each of us were individually exploring.
You mentioned that you had about 20 plus members. How does each one of the members contribute to the Dance Caribbean Collective as a whole?
That's a good question. We've played with lots of different formats and structures, and most recently, our structure, we have members in two categories. One category is something we call the DCC Lead Artists. So those are the people who are helping us design some of our programs and events, who are choreographing and performing at some of our events, and are helping coordinate some of our events. So they're thinking more creatively, more conceptually, and also performing. And the other side of the structure is something we call the DCC Powerhouse. And these are people that help behind the scenes. So they're doing marketing and admin work and graphic design and doing the technical side of our productions. So they're the people that you don't really see, but they're really the ones that are making everything happen.
Well, being a first-generation American and having my family be from Haiti, that factors heavily into my artistry. I derive a great deal of inspiration from my Haitian heritage. We have a very rich culture and history, but I'm also, born and raised in Brooklyn, and that plays a part in my identity as well. So fusing the two in my style as a choreographer and dancer just makes sense because it's really a full representation of who I am. I pull from both New York culture in terms of the music I was raised with and the people I was exposed to in Brooklyn, but also pulling inspiration from how my parents were raised and the culture that I was raised with inside my home as well. And merging the two is just really a full representation of who I am, which is why my style is a fusion of contemporary and Afro-Haitian or Afro-Caribbean dance in general, but particularly the Afro-Haitian lineage. And that voice is what I bring to the Dance Caribbean Collective. I'm not the only Caribbean artist to do fusions of folklore and contemporary traditions, but it's my particular voice in terms of looking at the Haitian diaspora. And because one thing I often express to other people is that there is a strong representation of the Haitian immigrant story, but you don't necessarily hear, in the artistic sense, a lot of voices who are like myself, a first-generation American. And so bringing that to the table and bringing that to the forefront makes people aware of our perspectives on things and how we approach our work.
I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, and I came to New York when I was 20 to pursue my bachelor's in dance at Adelphi University. And my Trinidadian heritage, my Trinidadian identity really plays a big part in my work. I feel that when you think about national identity of any country, it seems to be sort of stuck in time. So it's like whatever was happening in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, or even before that, is sort of what we use as our national marker, our Caribbean markers. And I feel that we need new representations of what our identity is, who we are, what our identity is in the diaspora away from being in whatever our home country is. So my work, sort of like Maxine, is a mixture of contemporary dance and Trinidadian culture and dance and music and movement, but there's always a through line of where we are today.
Coming up, the very best in Caribbean entertainment and so much more, right here on New York Caribbean.
Hello, I'm Candice, repping TNT, Trinidad and Tobago.
And I'm Maxine, repping IET, Haiti.
And you're watching New York Caribbean.
Who do you find inspire you the most and why?
I would say one of the choreographers, artists that has inspired me a lot is Jeffrey Holder. So he's of Trinidadian descent, but basically made his career in New York. And I've been lucky to be privy to his story through the movie Carmen and Jeffrey, and then also through a program that happened at Columbia where they interviewed his son, and we viewed a bunch of his works, and just listening to how he was able to make a life for himself and his family from pursuing art, from telling stories of Trinidadian culture, and his relentlessness in terms of how relentless he was in terms of making a life for himself only as an artist, and also how prolific he was in visual art and in dance and in costume design and in all these different styles and genres and disciplines that every time I revisit his story and look at his work, I feel more and more inspired and more motivated to keep doing what I'm doing.
In terms of choreographers and performers, two artists that are huge influences on me are Jean-Leo Destiné and Catherine Dunham. Jean-Leo Destiné was from Haiti, and he carved a career completely devoted to Afro-Haitian dance, both in performing it as well as teaching it worldwide, really. And Catherine Dunham, she herself was not Haitian, but she was a Black American dancer, choreographer, and anthropologist who did a lot of research in the Caribbean, including Haiti, and took those folkloric dances and created her own style of movement, which is referred to as the Dunham technique. She had also a multifaceted career performing in her dance company around the world, choreographing for her dance company, performing and choreographing on Broadway, and I aspire to have a multifaceted career like herself as well, for I am interested in performing in various outlets and choreographing in various outlets, as well as continuing to do deep research on the Afro-Haitian tradition.
Jeffrey Holder is now, not with us anymore. So it's like, who is the person now that I aspire to be like? And I would say there's a choreographer named Chris Walker, who's Jamaican. He choreographs a lot on the National Dance Theatre Company of Jamaica. And I feel like his work, which is a blend of a lot of different styles, but is deeply rooted in Jamaican vernacular and in Jamaican movement language. And his work really strikes me like deep in the pit of my stomach every time I see it. So I feel like he's someone who's well read, well researched, well studied, and if I had my way, I would like my work to be as thorough and as hard-hitting as it is.
In reference to your 20 members, how did you go about recruiting?
The members of DCC. Well, in 2015, when I first had this idea, I just emailed everybody I knew, basically, telling them about my idea and what I wanted to do. And we had a meeting in April of that same year where I invited the same people. We had maybe about 10 people show up, and we talked about things that we felt were holding us back in the work that we wanted to do, what sort of changes we wanted to see in our particular dance scene and genre, and things that we could possibly do together to keep our work going, one, and two, for our work to reach our community, because that was one of the things that people mentioned, was that they wished that more Caribbean people, Caribbean Americans, could see the kind of work that they were doing because it's so deeply inspired and motivated by Caribbean culture. So basically from there, every time we have an event or we have a show, and through our presence on social media, people reach out to me saying that, I'm so touched by what you're doing, can I be involved, what can I do? And we've been sort of like a stone collecting moss. I don't know how the saying goes, but...
Well, in the American version would be a snowball effect where once it starts.
Exactly, so
yeah.
we've been basically gathering folks as we've gone on with our programming and our shows.
Well, in regards to the contemporary dance landscape, a lot of, primarily, in my opinion, traditional contemporary companies that are larger are getting a platform to be seen, and smaller independent choreographers and companies, not so much in terms of having access to major theaters such as maybe New York City Center or things like that. So that's why I feel that Dance Caribbean Collective has a very significant presence in the dance world, because it provides a platform for independent choreographers of Caribbean descent or from the Caribbean to provide a voice in the dance landscape that isn't strictly contemporary, because a lot of us pull from different influences from the Caribbean. And so giving us a platform to present that voice is very significant in terms of diversifying the scene.
Tune in every Thursday night for a new episode of New York Caribbean, right here on One Caribbean Television.